Hey, welcome to the Rambling After Dark podcast. I'm your host, Hayden, and with me I have
Alex
and
Matt.
And we've got a reboot of sorts that no one really asked for, but we love the podcast, so we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna give it to him anyway. So, Matt, you were describing a game that you've been playing on your phone. Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, so recently I've been getting into the mobile game Duel Links.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially mobile Yu-Gi-Oh, except it's shortened down into 3 monster cards, 3 spell trap cards spaces.
Okay, so like general smaller deck, or?
Yeah, so it's got I think the maximum is 30 cards in the deck. So overall I think the matches will be a lot quicker, but still things like tribute summoning and stuff like that. I just think it's interesting how we're seeing resurgences of all these old whatever, like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that, Star Wars. They're getting massive reboots and stuff, and it's just I think it's playing a lot off our nostalgia factor into trying to get us to buy things.
Yeah. Side note, I just like to point out, I'm pretty sure back when we made these old episodes was when we got into our Yu-Gi-Oh phase. And now we're getting back right into it.
So
it's come full circle.
It's a double reboot.
Yes.
The double reboot.
Yes.
Rap only here on the Rad Podcast.
Yes. The rebirth. You've been reincarnated as the same thing you were last time.
Shit, I'm me from 22 years ago?
Yep.
No,
but it's interesting how there are new shows that get brought up, but I feel like marketing-wise it's or more like merchandise economically, it's really to their benefit to keep, the movies do the same thing too, where it's we'll just reboot or, keep a sort of franchise going that's already been well established and already has a name that's known.
It's hard to make up new ideas.
It's a lot hard to make new ideas.
RoboCop are two movies that have been doing that recently.
Mm-hmm. It's just they're playing it way safer and
that RoboCop movie 4 years ago already. Has it been that long?
Well, it's more recent than the one from the 80s. So
yeah, not as good because you can't beat the original.
Well, always.
Another, because you mentioned Star Wars, an example as far as the whole playing off the nostalgia, the Star Wars cartoon series, for Clone Wars and Rebels, those shows, they're for kids, Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh, they're for kids, but it's the demographic that's pointed towards the toys and the merch, and it's all for their kids and stuff, but it's we have grown up to still enjoy, or we still at least appreciate our 90s cartoons and our shows, so to speak.
90s late 90s or early 2000s.
So we see these shows and we're of larger income, we can just freely buy, we have the internet, just instantly order any of these items for ourselves. And these kid shows, especially with Clone Wars and Rebels, it's season 1 and 2, they start relatively calm as far as the story, nothing's too hectic, or nothing takes you too deep into it, nothing gets too serious.
Well, I think what the main difference is between these reboots and stuff, that I think between the ones that are successful and the ones that aren't is kind of what you're going for, with how in Clone Wars in the beginning they're okay, we're just gonna make this for kids, and I feel the other reboots and stuff, maybe Teen Titans Go and stuff, where they take a non-original idea, because making original ideas is hard, and they just make it for kids today don't do as well as the ones that realize we can make it for the kids today, and we should also appreciate the fan base that was for the shows years ago.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought up Teen Titans Go, because I literally watched a YouTube video last night I went on a bit of a Teen Titans sort of tangent, I started going down the whole of just episode clips and whatever. Yeah. And there was this guy, I don't remember his name unfortunately, but he had a video talking about the Teen Titans story and how hey, last season they were supposed to get a 6th season. There's a total cliffhanger for season 5.
Yeah, it ends the last episode. I believe ends is that Beast Boy episode where he
Beast Boy reunites,
maybe
finds Terra,
maybe,
but
a girl that looks like her, but she has no memories.
She was formerly of the team, but she claims
Spoiler alert.
No, my memory's not.
Dude, that show's old.
The show's old, man.
Well, some people might have watched it.
That's true.
But so then they take, they had this cliffhanger, they weren't able to get another season, varying reasons on why they didn't get one or not. But regardless,
movie, right?
Regardless, maybe. But
they did make a movie in Japan.
Yeah, they bring the show back in a new form that kids love, is a franchise that's familiar. It's something that's established. It's something that they can draw, continue to to draw energy from, all the old content and stuff. And, it sort of serves its purpose as like, okay, kids love it, you got the marketing, and, you didn't have to take a bunch of time to like come up with a new idea or anything.
Well, I mean, the unfortunate thing about that specific example, Teen Titans Go, is that I don't believe it is taking itself as seriously as the original series was.
It's true.
Because that was for kids, and it had an intriguing story, and it's something that, you could still potentially watch as you get older, and it'd be fine, and, you'd still enjoy it. But now it's just sort of a really niche show just for new kids, and not really playing off anything for the adults.
Even though I still like it, I heard it got a bit better. It's gotten a bit better, but what I heard was truly atrocious was, I don't know if you guys knew, but they rebooted Powerpuff Girls, and apparently that show was just god-awful. Like, the new one was just
I actually haven't even heard of it.
bad.
So
I watched a short thing. This was not like the same night that I was looking at Teen Titans stuff, but yeah, I saw like some documentary-esque stuff where it's talking with the people that made like Ed, Edd n Eddy, and it's talking with the people that made Powerpuff Girls. And
Also
it's like
a good show.
All of these shows that are very much kid-based, but because of like the support that they get, they're allowed to take things more serious, and they're allowed to be more deeper plots. Yeah. And I find myself very like annoyed or uninterested in the shows, like kid shows now. Like, granted, again, they're marketed and made for kids, so it's not necessarily wrong that I don't like them. But like, as far as like the changes they've had over time, it's like now, like the shows we're looking at, they're really like either simplified or like they're not really drawn heavily to any like reality or serious
You do
tone.
have those there are standouts. Like, I'm not gonna shit on every cartoon.
Sure. I was very general.
Yeah, there are definitely some standouts that like have the, I guess we're looking for is like adult themes, I guess, but like that they take themselves seriously and they have that like story progression, I guess we're looking for.
I mean, I want a plot that's not a single episode plot. You know? I want an overarching storyline.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah, like I know people say Adventure Time is one of the prime examples of like being one of the last.
I want to say I at least watched like an episode or so of that, and I just,
like that show. Like
I was disconnected.
Yeah, honestly, because I think with what happened with that show is it was kind of like at the beginning it does have all the vibes of what we're saying we don't like. I think it's kind of how they were going to do it at first, with just kind of random one episode of thing, and it's got this stuff. And then after, like, it's kind of that way in the first season, I guess. But then it really picks up on the whole, like, we want this overarching story with, like, definitely more, like, a ton of adult jokes in there that, like, goes over all these kids'
character
heads.
development.
Yeah, for sure. It actually is one of the few shows that does have the, like, big character development. Like, the characters actually age over like, the show.
Like, you can have these kid shows and have, like, this level of character development, have this, like, these serious tones that are just kind of like, hey, this is reality, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, as far as, like, that show goes. And it's like...
there's consequences.
I mean, I think this, like, overall kind of is touching on, like, the upcoming generations. They are getting more, like, tempered, sort of like safe, so to speak, content. Like, shows have gotten more safe. It's less risky. Like, how, at least for American society, like, they've taken a step back as far as what kids should be allowed to see, and like they're trying to, like, you know, hide them or shelter them from all this stuff or whatever.
My God, we sound like we're like
adults.
What? 40.
But I mean,
he
has a point.
He has a point, which is funny.
Like, you know, of course, when you think of shows with adult themes, you think of SpongeBob, and that was, you never understood it as a kid, but now when you're older,
adult jokes that you would understand.
Yeah. But it's become more of an issue because I think more people are willing to, like, speak out about it, and, like, overall are more easily offended.
Yeah. Backtrack to SpongeBob. You just brought it up. That is another issue. Instead of the reboot, there are these shows that were awesome.
And they're still
as like when we were kids, and they have just dragged on for too long. Like, they need to
the point where
they need to give it a satisfying ending. But honestly, at this point, it's gone too past the point where they just need to kill these shows. Like, SpongeBob is one of them I hear about. I haven't seen, like, an episode of it forever.
I mean, it's been, like, season 20 or something?
Like, honestly, yeah, because, like, a lot of people say it started to dip off in quality after this first SpongeBob movie. Apparently, I never saw the new movie. Apparently, that's good, because it has the original, the creator as the writer, because I think he left the show afterwards, and, like, that was when quality started to drop off a lot. And another show that people, like, say suffered that is Fairly Odd Parents. I don't know if you kept up with that recently.
I liked Fairly Odd Parents, but I could totally see them going like too far with it.
I watched it. I still watched it even when they added the whole like fairy baby. Apparently, a lot of people really didn't like Poof as a character.
That kind of represents a sort of a change, a transition.
So like, I didn't mind it too much. Apparently, it just got worse. And then they also had these weird like. I watched one of the first one they made. So bad. It's like these live action movies with Drake Bell as Timmy as like grown up, but he's
really
like they're like really bad. And then now he's got like there's a fairy dog, and then he also has to share his godparents with this girl. Like they changed the intro song. The intro song is different now because they had to incorporate that in like with the tunes because like he has to share his godparents. This other girl because there's like a shortage. There's like more kids that need Fairly Odd Parents
than there are.
And there are.
I mean,
fairies.
The thing is this one kid has like 4.
Yeah.
So
and also it turns out like I don't care if this spoilers, but there's apparently this like a big plot issue of still way past its prime. With apparently the reason why like the show's been in like stasis is because a long time ago Timmy made a wish that like no one aged. He didn't have Wanda do it. He had Cosmo, and then he made Cosmo forget. Like, which he like.
Is that canon?
Yes,
dude, that's awesome.
And then then the other fairies go out, and then like Timmy gets like on trial and all this stuff for like getting his godparents taken away, and now like getting like punishment is he has to share his godparents with this like other girl or whatever. It's like a whole thing.
Well, technically, being a Fairly Odd Parent is a job, so I don't think there's no reason why a husband and a wife need to share the same kid. Right? They can work separately.
I was like, oh my god, what is this like? What is this show turning into?
Yeah. So, well, speaking of like what we think of things now, like the sort of different opinion as we get older. Matt, you told me that you were going to Disney World like relatively soon, or.
Yeah, I'm going in a couple of months.
Okay, well, still, a couple months isn't,
Yeah, I mean, it's still in the, like, it's planning, like, it's happening, but it's being planned.
But I wanted to bring that up because, like, Disney World, or Disneyland, I don't even know which one necessarily, like, I was, as a kid, obviously taken to this place, which would be the appropriate time to go, but I have no idea what it's like now. And I want to go. Like, I feel like it's justified in that, like, I want to get the experience and have it fresh because I like what as far as like memories goes, like 5 years old, like that's like my earliest point.
Yeah,
and like even then it's like super
sponsored
scattered.
by Disney.
Wow,
maybe
that'd be awesome, but no, it's not.
We're gonna get taken down now by the mouse himself.
Yeah, we're gonna get taken down by something. All these names, we're just dropping names left and right.
The House of Mouse is gonna come after us.
Yeah,
but we should talk it.
Yeah, no, you guys. Inform me, what is Disney World like?
It's certainly evolving.
Soon it's going to get Star Wars Land, which is going to rock.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have it.
To be out of this world.
When did they acquire LucasArts or Star Wars franchise?
Dude, that was a while ago. For like what, $4 billion?
It's been $4 billion. Also, they're starting to.
I mean, what was it, like 8-9 years ago? I know.
No, not that much, I don't think.
Okay, well, I mean...
Maybe. Hell, it might be, actually. I don't know.
The last time our gracious host went, I mean, that wasn't necessarily part of the parks.
Oh, no, yeah.
Oh, not even... Well,
not even close.
There was a ride that where you get in the AT-AT.
That was the partnership. Yeah, that's the Star Tours. Yeah, because they had a partnership with Lucas.
Yeah, and like you get in like the AT-AT and it had like the whole like
they didn't own
simulation
They didn't own it. They re-updated that once they got the rights. Now there's like multiple scenarios instead of just the one. Mm-hmm. They're starting to incorporate more of the Marvel characters now too.
Which is super cool.
Doesn't that thing like shoot water too?
What?
Like the big walker thing?
AT-AT? It used to. It did like a little mist thing. I don't know if they do it now. But I know it did. I know.
You gotta keep the water hoses
going. You're not crazy.
Well, I mean, it's
now they have all these Star Wars shows and everything.
It's pretty temperature controlled in there.
Yeah. Apparently, also like there's this just because of how things are changing. Back at downtown Disney, which is like shopping center, it's not really like one of the parks per se, but it's on the property.
It's not necessarily for the kids.
There's an awesome place called Disney Quest, like 4-story building of just like video game stuff.
Arcades.
We're closing it. Yeah, one they had awesome because it was arcades. Like one floor is just all arcade games. Like some stuff that you can't really find. Like old, like maybe like a Street Fighter or something. Yeah. Then they had a lot of it was like virtual reality, like simulation stuff, but they're closing it down because attendance is low or whatever.
Also, arcades are expensive upkeep.
I mean,
True.
skee-ball tournaments aren't drawing in the crowds like they used to.
I guess not. But I guess especially with all now that you have VR that you just buy for consoles and stuff, just
not as
the
impressive.
technology is just the technology they have there is just not. It's so old that it's not cool anymore. They're turning it into the NBA experience.
Oh gosh.
Sports beat out video games yet again.
Ah, darn it.
Well, we're closing up on it. The video games are starting to, earn their own reputation as far as becoming sports.
What is it? The esports channel, professional gaming competitions, are on ESPN or something.
Yeah.
Well, that
I think
they hate it, but it's happening.
I think there's a specific ESPN channel.
Yeah, but it's still under the.
They had some Heroes of the Storm games on there.
Oh yeah.
I think it's really cool how it's sort of becoming accepted to be a gamer.
Yeah.
And how it's when we were kids.
Out a lot.
Yeah.
When we were kids, our parents were like, "Why are you playing video games? You're never going to go anywhere playing video games." Well, maybe.
To be fair, I was on the computer in diapers, and my dad had a PlayStation 1, and I played that super early. So I was straight up fed it. Now that being said, my dad's super into sports and football, but he didn't get that from me. He introduced me to video games. I didn't stray from that.
There you go.
But that was his own, undoing, so to speak. Although I will say, we're done with Disney, but as far as frame of reference of when I was actually there, I think this is the best sort of pinpoint I can put on it. Stitch had a huge statue, and he was super relevant when I was at Disney World. I'm talking
it's probably 2002 or something.
First Stitch movie came out.
Yeah,
that was when I was there. It was hot, or at least close to that time.
They have a Stitch.
It's probably pretty exciting
there, and they're cycling it out though. The rumors are they're gonna cycle it out and turn it into something that has to do with Wreck-It Ralph.
That'd be fair.
Well, that ride is one of those 4D experiences sort of things,
Yeah.
And I personally didn't quite like that one ride, but if they're cycling it out, then
I like the ones with the shooter ones or whatever.
Yeah, well, basically the only thing I really didn't like is there's a part where, spoiler, Stitch farts on you, and it's the worst smell.
It is the worst smell in existence.
I literally gagged.
He is a foreign alien with unnatural gases.
He steals someone's chili dog in the audience and burps right in your face, dude. It is a nasty smell.
I almost threw up.
The first time I went on it,
that sounds
nastiest smell.
Even if it's awful,
nastiest smell. And then I don't know what it was. Somehow then later that day, towards the end of the day, walking at the park,
smelled it.
I somehow re-smelled it. I don't know how, but I re-smelled it, and my God,
it was bad. Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I remember maybe your memory just triggered a smell.
I don't know, dude. I don't know how it happened. It was so weird.
What is it? The tower that's based off of a movie, the big tower that drops. It's
Tower of Terror.
Tower of Terror. Yeah, I'd been
based
on
off
that.
The Twilight Zone.
Yeah, they still got that.
I'd been on that.
They also have it in California Adventure, one of the parks, California. But they're changing that now. That's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy ride, and they're planning on opening it up on the premiere of Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
That's pretty good timing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there was that interactive. I think it was another one of those 4D experiences, where there was everyone was in this dark room, and there was an alien that broke out of a containment class or something.
They remade it into the Stitch.
Oh, they remade that into the Stitch ride. Okay, because before it was a really scary alien.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I didn't go on it because they just didn't take me. But yeah, my parents said it was terrifying. That alien
it used to be legit scary looking.
That's what they changed it.
They changed it because people weren't going on it because they were scared out of their minds.
Because it's cool.
Okay, Disney is supposed to be the happiest place on earth, not the scariest place on earth. So it just wouldn't fit in with the theme.
Yeah. But yeah, no, they turned that into the Stitch ride. Now rumor has it it's going to be switched out into Wreck-It Ralph.
Well, some Wreck-It Ralph would be kind of refreshing.
Yes, because Wreck-It Ralph is amazing.
We were talking about how, or Matt, you were saying how video games are coming into a large sort of popularity, and it's sort of being brought back. That made me think of how, as far as nerd culture and gaming and what have you,
coming more mainstream, I guess. Or is that
how it's coming more mainstream, but particularly our friend group, we play Dungeons and Dragons, and when I first my first opinion of Dungeons and Dragons was that is the highest level of super nerd geek,
same.
Picturing granted, at like speaking to present me,
stuff,
like
yeah.
I'm not going to be upset or judge you if you did dress up, put on voices, like whatever. But I'm just saying in my head, of like in the first,
I think
impression was like
Yeah.
picturing all those super nerds,
I think
like all the dressed up.
but it stems from that like negative stigma that people had of it from like the 70s and 80s, and kind of like if you don't have people that actually played it and you just hear about that from like people who don't play it, that's where you're gonna get from it, and you'll be like, wow, that is the lamest thing. Because well, I was saying with you, I'm like that. I was like, okay, like when I was younger, I'm like, okay, if you like the trifecta of lowest of the low for nerds, which honestly was stupid to think of anyway. It was Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, and hardcore like World of Warcraft people.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion didn't really change about D&D until we were sort of gearing up for our first like sort of campaign.
Yeah, our very first session, like people messaging in like our text group chat, like, and then talking about it, and then like all the way up to the point of like starting the first session, I was super like anti, like I was like in my head, I was gonna text like, nah, no thanks, like, I'm not interested or whatever. Like I was relatively content to just stay out of it, but it was like my core friend group, like everyone was doing it, so I gave it a shot, and then it ended up becoming something I thoroughly enjoyed.
Like what actually changed my opinion on it was like when I was like finished making my character sheet, and like I read it over, and then I pictured everything in my head, and I was like, this looks badass. Like in my imagination.
Yeah, I remember like it took me forever to actually like figure out what Dungeons and Dragons was, like tabletop like role playing. Like I remember back in high school, I had a friend in the class kind of thing, and he was talking about how he plays it, and I was like, can you like explain this to me? Like I don't get it. Like is there like a board? Because I knew I'd seen,
what do you do?
From what I had seen, you had the mini, because you can play it this way, like you can play it in any way you want, but like the way I thought of it was you have your guys, and then like you have a miniature to represent your character, and there was like the grid with the board and the squares, and like you had that map laid out and everything, and then like when the guy was explaining it to me, I'm like, how do you have this, like all this stuff? And then I was like, oh, you don't have to play it that way. You can just talk and experience it, like say with your imagination.
And I know some of like the more hardcore groups, they do things like they really get into character, and like when they're in like a session or whatever, they don't speak in their normal voice. They'll be their character. They won't acknowledge any outside intrusions and stuff like that.
They are very good about not making.
They're real true role playing.
Well,
and I think that's something that's like really cool.
What's nice is with like especially in the Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master's book or whatever, it tells you it's like there are different many ways to play. Like you guys could play in character and you change voice. It could be some people, it could be all of you or not all of you. It doesn't really matter. It's like as long as you're having fun. And like I forget where I heard it, but I was watching some like roleplay show on YouTube where they talk about roleplay games, and they I think they said it right, where like at the end of the day, Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop RPGs, it's a conversation. Like you're having a conversation with your friends, and like that's what makes it fun. But like you just have all these extra elements added to it that makes it fun.
Really enhance it. Yeah, I was gonna say like I'm always someone who loves like character creation. Yeah. So like I really get into as far as like what are the names, like do they have a little bit of backstory, like what do they look like, what do they behave, and that is such like as far as someone who likes character creation, like it's a great place to be in like playing like Dungeons and Dragons with friends. There's so many like thoughts and ideas, there's a lot of variety in what you can create, and then in turn you bring in this like very unique character into a very like flushed out or relatively like handcrafted like world, and you just put them in, and there is what is the missions that are set in stone or they're put in place, but there's so much there's like so many possibilities that come from introducing all these people,
because you as a group, like even if you have the one guy who like the game master who creates the world, everyone else still helps create the world in their own way, like adding stuff.
It's truly fantastic in the way of the core concept of the game is the fact that it's all up to your own imagination, Like if you want your character to punch a barkeep, you can go punch a barkeep, and your DM will decide what happens next. It's truly amazing.
There's also like what I learned is like since we got more into it, it's like there's more than just like Dungeons and Dragons. Like there are so many.
Like lots of dungeons and lots of dragons.
There's so many roleplay games out there with like so many different themes and like just
You have a lot of options.
Tons of possibilities of different types of games. It's rule systems and just like ways to create your characters and stuff. It's crazy.
You can even like make your own version.
Oh yeah,
like you don't have to obey any of the preset rules.
Homebrew stuff.
We have a friend Jesse who started his own like tabletop RPG. He was writing it out, and he hired some artists to like produce some work, and like he went through the full process, and him and many others can just create based off of the basic rules and just create your own like adventure, like quite literally your own game. Yeah, and it's pretty awesome.
You can just like make basically infinite possibilities of stories and like just craft your own adventure and stuff. But didn't you say you had a story you want to
I did
share with the class?
Yeah, so there was something that happened to me one day, and like after it had resolved, I just imagined, I was like, this is something like, this is a podcast level story. Like this is just like a bizarre, like odd happening in my life, totally like podcast worthy.
Yeah,
and bringing it here first on the Rambling After Dark podcast, right?
Just to give some context, he told us this like
months ago. This happened forever ago.
No, months. He told me months ago, and he has refused to say anything about it. So I'm just gonna build it up really good because it's totally not gonna.
Supposedly 5-star story.
Yeah. I mean, just let me get into it. All right.
Hooker involved?
No, but hold on now.
All right.
So what happened is, for a little bit of context, this includes my pets. So I am an owner of an exotic animal. Two of them actually. Cool. I have sugar gliders, flying squirrel. They're native to Australia. You can look up images. Maybe if I'm gracious to the listener, then I will provide a link in the description. But we'll, I'm not gonna make any promises.
Put it in the link dump.
Yeah. Well, do yourself a favor. Look up images because they're adorable. So the girl, her name is Chewy, and she, my room. I have like. I mean, as we all do in our rooms or, just general houses, all these like little like nooks and crannies, like all these like small spaces that obviously small animals could fit into or get into. I have my desk where my computer's at, and she is able to just crawl from the backside into like the drawers, just like through like the, slightest slants or anything like that. So in the long, like sort of front drawer of my desk, I heard her like kind of like rustling in there, which I don't like them being in there. There's a lot of like just junk, like markers and just all sorts of stuff. I'm not really comfortable with having them in there, so I opened up the drawer. I'm looking to pull her out of there because I don't want her in there, and I find that and this is after I had cleared some stuff out of that drawer. Like there was like some like old candy and food stuff I didn't want them touching, so this was already after like once having gone through the drawer to try and clean it out, try and make it safe, so to speak. And I find that she has ripped open like a condom wrapper, and she literally has has bit onto and grabbed like this condom that was just like shoved in the back of the drawer somewhere. So then the situation becomes, I'm trying to grab it away from her, and
how old is this condom?
It was literally just shoved in the back of the drawer, dude. I don't even know. But yeah, so I'm
ready
now.
Oh, Hayden.
Always ready.
Good. Practice safe sex.
Use protection. But no, but seriously, like I literally lived a moment where my tiny little squirrel-like animal, I'm playing tug of war with it with a condom. Like that was like my situation. Wait, I was like, is this seriously happening right now? Like I'm trying to pull it away, and she's like, no, it's mine.
Important question. Yeah. Is it pre-lubed? Is it already slippery? Is it hard to grasp?
Also, what brand?
I don't remember the brand. I'm sorry.
Dude. Probably just some generic.
It was generic ass, like, yeah.
I'm not gonna name drop anyone.
Trojan.
Yeah, I'm not sponsored. Hey, if we were sponsored.
Magnum.
No, but yeah, like what an absurd moment that I had in my life. That I was like, I'm like tug of warring with this like little like condom as like my like squirrel's like grabbing onto, it's like pulling it back from me. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
And then you lost your grip, and then like the squirrel went in the condom, and it was all.
That would be awful, dude. That like I would be scared for its life.
I don't think there'd be a way to get it out.
They're pretty crafty, but I digress.
Shoot through the latex.
Oh my god.
Yeah, going into that story, I feel like the podcast, we can continue to ramble as we please in any direction. So if you guys have any little tidbits or something that you wanted to talk about, now would probably be the time.
Well, I know just this morning, me and Alex decided to eat breakfast at Old West Cafe.
Oh, Alex, you went?
Oh, I went.
Yeah, he did. Nice. He went with me.
Yeah.
It's too early for me. They went early in the morning, like 7:30. I can't do that shit.
Yeah, but
if you are in the
North Texas area.
DFW area.
There's 2 locations. We went to the northern one.
Head to Old West Cafe.
It's probably the most Texas breakfast you'll ever eat.
And
probably true.
Top quality.
The portions are huge. The food is just fantastic quality. The only thing is, it's got a super good reputation because of the great food, huge portions. There's going to be a long line if you don't get there early.
Mm-hmm.
So
don't go on Sunday.
I would have loved to been able to take you, Hayden, but unfortunately we had to get there at 7:30 because
and also
it will crowd up.
It's only not even 10 minutes from your house.
It's very close.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I've been there multiple times too, and it's like
I thought you never went.
So you never went.
No, that's not true. I've been to this place like multiple times.
Well, I don't feel bad for not taking you anymore.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Not only have I been there, like in my message to you, Matt, I said the food is good, as in like I've already experienced the food, but it's really early for me.
I have to fact check this.
All right, he's going to fact check, but basically, and I didn't mean to lead you astray, but I have been to Old West Cafe, and I've been telling you like, hey, the Old West Cafe, like it's very Texas, and like you said, like the portions are huge. Like for someone who is not a Texan or who is unfamiliar, like
you're not born here?
What I am?
Oh, I thought
I'm saying for other people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. By the way, he did say the food is good.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't pay attention to Hayden.
Clearly.
Well,
anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Old West Cafe is really good. I think my great grandpa, like he's like traveled like multiple places around the world, and like that's like his favorite place to eat is Old West Cafe. And he's like super old.
That's quite the feat. Old West Cafe.
Not to be mean, but he is super old. So like he's been to many places, and that's like number one.
So he feels right at home at Old West Cafe.
Quite ancient, actually.
Yeah, no. The building is like very like the sort of like old wood, like very opposite of modern. Like it takes you way back as far as like the
like you're there.
Almost
like
zero parking.
In the Old West.
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
But it's the restaurant is like chock full of like Texas like memorabilia and like all the like the don't mess with Texas and like the various like sayings and like promotive.
It's kind of ironic that it's located in one of the like artsy sort of parts of Texas, like one of the more, I would dare say, more liberal side of Texas.
Or so like
it's kind of funny. Though.
Oftentimes when I go to Old West Cafe, it's us like me and my family and like exchange students like we take them to Old West Cafe, and like either like that's like coming from the airport coming back like to the house, like that's just where we would go oftentimes, and it's like
their first impression.
Yeah, give them a big first impression as far as like the food and everything. So, but yeah, Old West Cafe, definitely recommend. Great food.
Sponsor our podcast.
Please do. I need the money.
I think it would kind of break the mold if they sponsored a podcast. I think that's a bit left field for this restaurant that's all like in classic Western.
Scratch that.
We're giving them free advertising right now.
Don't support this podcast. Just be you.
What?
Are you sabotaging us on our?
No, I don't want them.
Alex, I have no choice. I have to delete Matt.
I don't want them to compromise their values for us.
Just delete him completely.
Delete Matt from
God. Well, at least anything I say from now on will be muted.
Well, since we give top-notch food recommendations, do you have any other top-notch recommendations to give our lovable fans?
Yeah, we could
more into, like I said, because Old West is like out of left field. More like stuff that fits on the internet. Games.
Sure. I'd say it'd be nice for us to sort of share like what things we've either seen or what games we've played, and just kind of like throw out there like, hey, there's a lot of good shows out there. There's a lot of good media.
Guys, there's a lot of good shows.
There's a lot of good stuff out there.
I was truly hoping.
Don't get stuck rewatching something. There's a lot more to do.
Truly hoping this nuanced show called Always Sunny in Philadelphia. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone knows that is.
That just been going a long time.
I know.
I know all of us were really hoping to get in on the closed beta for the For Honor game that's supposed to be set to come out in February.
I think it's going to come out on Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day,
yep. Very romantic. Blood is in the air.
I understand why they didn't want to extend everyone invitations to it. They want to
maybe they'll have an
close-knit sort of.
There might be an open beta closer to launch.
Maybe they don't want to wreck like their servers or whatever. But
to be fair,
I am personally
as far
offended.
As a beta, they might want to wreck their server so they get an idea.
I mean, I'm personally offended that I didn't get an invitation.
Oh, okay.
Ubisoft,
Sponsor our podcast.
Why you do this?
Ubisoft, you have a lot of people upset.
Like I made the mistake today of going on like the subreddit for Honor, and I just want it even more now.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like the day, like none of us,
Like-
as far as our friend group, got into the closed beta, and so I'd spent not like a large portion, but like a decent amount of my day, like kind of casually, like going onto YouTube, like looking at people's streams as they get to play, and I don't.
Like apparently it shows like
Bad idea for me, personally.
each team, or I say
Faction.
team, each faction, and like I guess what's going on in the beta right now is they're like in a war like with points, and apparently the rumor going around is whoever wins by the end of the beta, like if you're part of that like faction, you're gonna get like special something when the game comes out.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, and so like so people are getting into it. Like on the subreddit, there was like posts where like I guess
Join
like
our
one
faction
the
now.
first night like the Vikings were like the lowest, so like we may have lost this night like brothers, but we can like we need you to get on now so we could defeat the tin cans, which is like the knights, and they keep everyone's calling the people who play the samurais the weeb army.
Yeah. As far as factions, the three factions, the samurai, the knights, and the Vikings. I would be a part of that weeb army, not because I'm identifying as weeb, but simply
Because you watch a
I
lot of anime.
appreciate I appreciate the armor designs, and when it comes to a game like that, and it's about sort of the glory and sort of like being in the moment, it's like I want the most aesthetically pleasing experience when it comes to that stuff.
I was going to be part of the Viking army personally. I like the idea of it.
Don't back down.
But I was looking at their character models, and I didn't find them to be like personally like aesthetically pleasing.
Maybe you just don't identify with a Viking.
They didn't fit my connotation of what a Viking should be.
Okay.
You know, so unfortunately for Vikings, I'm going to be siding with the knights.
Yeah, Hayden, you can look at how beautiful your character model is when
we're cutting off your own head.
When my knight's flail is bashing your face in.
Well, you say that, but I might just... You can, look at my armor from the ground of your severed head. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
That perspective.
Sort of cut me off. Like I'm going to cut you off.
Hey, let's not get hostile. We're just rambling here. All right, we're just having a good time.
Oh my god.
After dark,
Also,
of course.
Yes.
Also excited.
Always after
for,
dark.
Pit People, whenever that comes out.
Yeah,
We downloaded that off Steam.
Pit People by Behemoth. They worked on like Castle Crashers, Alien Hominid. Fun games. Always like sort of this fun cartoon style, but also have like this really like out there sort of like in your face sort of humor.
They basically like took turn-based strategy game and they just streamlined the hell out of it to where
It's
like
sort of like a Fire Emblem game,
super
right?
simple.
Like that sort of
turn-based,
game?
but it's even like it's just super simplified. Like where you move your guys. And, like, honestly, you can't, like, you move them next, well, for the most part, because a lot of them are melee. I mean, you have range characters, but if you, like, say you move a guy next to two enemies, you can't decide which enemy he's going to choose. It's going to be random.
Yeah.
Like, so but there's an element to that mechanic, to, like, a way to learn. But, yeah, it's very streamlined, it's easy to pick up, and it's also, I guess, you could say, got a like hint of Pokemon in it, because you go out in the world and
catch things.
Basically, when you do a battle out in like the wilderness, if they're the last guy on their the enemy team or like the AI, if you have your recruiter character, if you want to capture him, you can throw a net at them and you basically lock them in a cage and recruit them to your team.
Oh, as they say, gotta catch them all.
Exactly.
It's true. I wanted to mention something real quick, something I noticed recently where it's not a new game, but it's a game that this group generally knows and understands as Darkest Dungeon. And I wanted to bring this up on the podcast because it's something that we all, like to listen to, once it's out and everything, at least once. And
Nope.
All right, that's fair. It's your time. Use it how you want. But Darkest Dungeon is getting a update in February. That is, but yes, it's supposed to bring out a update that is like a game mode. You basically play through the game, but it's not supposed to be as long. It's not supposed to be an easier mode. But what it's supposed to be is for those who like don't have that level of time to go through the entire length of the game. The time it takes to get yourself to the end is relatively long. I have a lot of hours in that game, but they're supposed to come out with a new mode that comes with like quality of life updates, like changes here and there, a couple of new enemies, and ultimately bringing like a new mode that does not take as long to complete.
Do they just do the dungeons then? They don't have to deal with the whole like
Darkness?
town part?
I don't know. I haven't read too heavily into it except for like the general like what it's supposed to be. But this mode has also pushed back some DLC that was going to be made for the game that's coming out now in April. That was like some sort of Crimson, like some vampire DLC. So it would be what I assume would be a fresh new area or something. But yeah, so updates still coming to that game, way after it's out. It's been brought onto consoles and everything. But just wanted to tell the group that there is a shorter mode of the game that might be a lot more manageable, a lot easier to finish.
Probably casuals out there because Hayden is
I locked in 150 hours, 154 I think hours into that game.
I really appreciate
Darkest Dungeon Master.
My first gameplay, I had 55 hero deaths. I counted that today.
I made him count them.
Yeah, I counted all of them. So yeah, but
every single.
I really enjoyed the game. Dungeon crawler,
It's true.
Great atmosphere, great sound design and everything about that game. Really just loved the feel and the atmosphere, like I said, for it. So I enjoyed it. It punishes, but I really enjoyed it.
Real shout out to all the devs that continue releasing updates for their games on a constant basis and really hears what their fans have to say and stuff. Yeah. It's really appreciated by everyone in the community. I think it's really
as
cool.
a whole. Yeah.
Rainbow Six, shout out, because they were able to. They still update that game.
Well, it's kind of crazy. That game was never supposed to be a big thing. It wasn't supposed to be a real huge deal.
I totally saw that game as a one-off when it was coming out, but it turned out to be a little longer.
It's
really fun
picked
still.
up after the fact, after the initial launch, which is
with all the
nice.
Adding all the new content and a lot of patches and stuff like that. It really helps the overall experience and it makes people want to play your games. So,
But Hayden, since you're the resident weeb on the show,
well, I feel like I'm only a resident weeb because I had other weeb influences and that got passed on to me. But sure, yes. What were you saying?
Well, I'm just fucking with you.
What's today's weeb?
But
weeb of the day.
Are there any animes coming out that you're interested in?
Upcoming, okay.
Or new ones you see? I know we watched one.
Yeah.
I say you're weeb, but I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I've got a mix of what is upcoming and then what is things that we've watched that I'd recommend.
Right.
As far as what we've watched and I'd recommend, I would say I really enjoyed watching Drifters. A quick summary, I guess, would be that there are two factions. You have, I'm putting it very simply and not a lot of details, so I don't want to spoil. But protagonist, antagonist factions, both sides have these sort of significant power in that they are able to pull these sort of historical figures from varying levels of the past, and they bring them into their own fantasy world that they exist in, and they're sort of using these historical figures. It's Japanese, it's anime, so you have a lot of these very historical and a lot of impact, very impactful, these Japanese war heroes that are all being brought into the show. They're sort of brought together. Their years separate them from each other, but they're all sort of brought together, and they start sort of forming and sort of solidifying the strength of this faction, and then these two factions going up against each other. It just makes for a very visually appealing and very intense show.
Yeah, and it's made by or written by Kota Hirana, and he did a Hellsing. So
yeah,
if you're into Hellsing.
Hellsing influence is very much there.
Yeah,
for the show.
Got the same not same thing, but same vibes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Same sort of feeling.
Yeah.
I would say I've been watching JoJo, trying to keep up trying to catch up rather. Alex has been requesting it frequently, but JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I had finished all of Stardust Crusaders, and I'm now on Diamond is Unbreakable.
Did you start it?
I started episode 1 of Diamond is.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
We can talk about that later. Yeah. But basically, I
still have to finish.
Want to watch that show. It's a lot of fun. It starts off very simple. The pace seems really fast, but then you sort of, as you go into the second season, you kind of discover the overarching how the show's going to go and things like that. Yeah, I won't be too descriptive because I feel like a lot of that show should be discovered by watching. Yeah. But I think in Japan it was the number 1 rated or voted best anime or something like that. Something along the voted favorite anime in Japan as far as Japan's charts and picks and what have you. So
this last year or something?
Yeah, for this last year, yeah.
Oh, I guess I really like part 4 then.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So definitely check that out. You want to mention Kaijo?
Sure. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it already, but Kaijo is, I think that was aired last season, same season as or anime season as Drifters. Kaijo. It's only 12 episodes, right? I think
something close to that.
Something like close to that. 12, 13 episodes. If you like butts and boobs, it's anime for you.
It's very much about delivering on fan service, but at the same time telling a story with like very diverse and interesting characters, and
they incorporate. They pulled a Kill la Kill where they put the plot air quotes into the actual plot.
Yes.
So the fan service actually means something.
Yes.
It's not just fan service.
They play in this sport where they're like on platforms in the water and they can only knock the other girls off with their boobs or butts. They can't use hands.
Yeah. I mean, it is a sport game with those specified rules, and therefore it warrants a lot of these suggestive shots.
It's a sports anime.
It is.
It actually is. But then with anime superpowers that come in.
Yeah, it's true. But I don't know. I'd say generally about that show is it seems strange to watch, and you might get a weird, like someone might dart their eye at you if they were seeing you watching it. But yeah,
I feel like that's with the anime though. At least there's always those.
Yeah,
like people who watch anime
that'll happen.
That's a thing.
But just generally, like this, it was a fun show. Like it was funny,
good,
and it like was really out there and like kept bringing up these surprises that I couldn't help but laugh at. So yeah, it was definitely entertaining.
Finally, after so many years, Attack on Titan is coming back.
Yeah, upcoming stuff. We got the next Attack on Titan season coming to us, I believe, in April, if I'm not mistaken. There is trailers for this upcoming season.
That's better than what we got last time. It was just rumors of it coming out last year, but and it didn't. So fingers crossed on that.
Yep. And then I believe, I know that for those of you who like Code Geass, not anticipated, but turns out a season 3 is being made, and you will have your main protagonist from the original show, and he will be coming back for reasons unknown, but there will be a season 3, so for those of you who have watched, it's coming back. I'm excited. I look forward to that. That's probably one of my it's in my top 5 of animes for sure.
Nice. Are there any ones you've seen recently, Matt, or ones you're looking forward to?
Not particularly. There's not anything that I've seen the most recently.
Well, then how about if not anime, then like just general like TV shows or something like that?
I really liked the Netflix show, Series of Unfortunate Events.
Mm-hmm.
I like how the books are basically split up into 2-episode pieces. It tells the story quite nicely, and I feel like most of the details are still in the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's really well produced, and I like it quite a bit.
Yeah, I watched the first episode and still got to finish the second one, but it definitely captures the feel of the books.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was gonna recommend. I have 2 things. Seriously, just gnawing at the bits for Rick and Morty season 3. It's supposed to be this year. No one knows when it's coming out as of this recording, but everyone is just on the edge of their seats, knowing that it's going to come out this year.
Yes.
All the hype is real about it. If you haven't watched Rick and Morty,
you need to get Swifty.
It is an adult cartoon, I said that right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's adult.
Yeah, it's an adult cartoon.
Like Futurama.
Yeah, think of it like Futurama, Family Guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a very funny show. Tells a lot of jokes, and then does a great job of turning everything on itself and getting really serious and real about it. In particular, sort of turning into dark humor, which I really appreciate and I really enjoy to watch. So that show definitely recommend. And then more regarding live action stuff, Westworld. Me and Tristan of our group, we watched most of Westworld together, and then we both finished it off accordingly.
Teabag himself.
Yes. And yeah, Westworld, really amazing. The quality, it's HBO, so the sort of production value is extremely high.
Boobs.
It has nudity, and because the show features robots, and humans are not treating these robots as, same right, species counterparts. So a lot of nudity in there, but that really, what that amounts to for me is just mad props for the actors.
On a lighter note, I actually was enjoying the new Amazon Prime show. What's it called? Grand Tour, featuring Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May. Mm-hmm. Basically, the old Top Gear crowd, Top Gear UK crowd, it's a car show, and they followed the same basic formula as they did on Top Gear, and I really like it a lot.
Nice.
Pretty sweet. So I feel like that's a pretty good place to close. We talked relatively in depth about a few things, and then
rambled about a few.
We got to ramble about a few things, and look out for it in the future.
That For Honor.
Mm-hmm.
And all those awesome shows we mentioned, especially Kaijo. You want to.